Hi, I'm Jennifer Veazie.
I'm Whitney Usie.
And I'm Madeleine Jeannsome.
And we did our project over Latin America. Within Latin America, you have Mexico, Central America, and South America.
We initially had decided on another country. However, after some thought, we changed our minds and decided on Latin America because we knew a lot of people here locally in Baton Rouge who are originally from countries in Latin America. So we visited their church service, we planned a dinner night, and then they took us on a tour of the local Hispanic market where we bought all of the ingredients that we needed, and then we met up one night for dinner at Madeleine's house, and we cooked an entire feast with foods from all different countries in Latin America. We had a girl from El Salvador, a girl from Venezuela, we had a boy from Honduras and a boy from Mexico, all different countries, so we had a spread of food from Latin America, so it was really good. We had lots of fun.
So we made this video to give you insight on the Latino culture and how we were able to experience it.
Through our research, we discovered that all of Latin America was heavily influenced in the 15th and 16th century by Europeans who came over to the Americas in what we now call the Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange refers to a period of cultural and biological exchanges between the New and Old worlds. The New World would be what we know as the Americas, North America, South America, and Central America, while the Old World would be Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. Exchanges of plants, animals, diseases, and technology transformed European and Native American ways of life. Beginning after Columbus's discovery in 1492, the exchange lasted throughout the years of expansion and discovery. The Columbian Exchange impacted the social and cultural makeup of both sides of the Atlantic Ocean, both in the New Worlds and the Old Worlds, as advancements in agricultural production, evolution of warfare, increased mortality rates, and education are just a few examples of the effect of the Columbian Exchange on both the Europeans and the Native Americans. Looking at the picture on the screen, you can see that there is an abundance of new plants discovered in the Americas, including beans, squash, chili peppers, peanuts, tomatoes, avocado, pineapple, etc. But the most important were potato and maize. In addition to discovering New World plants, many plants were also brought from the Old World to become hugely successful in the Americas. Among these plants, the most prevalent was sugarcane. On another voyage, Columbus also brought horses, dogs, pigs, cattle, chickens, sheep, and goats. When the explorers brought these new animals across the ocean, it introduced a whole new means of transportation, a new labor form, and a new food source. They also brought a written alphabet, new farming capabilities, new firearm and weapon capabilities, architectural ingenuity, and most significantly, the Spanish language. Before the Europeans or Spaniards came over to the Americas, the land was possessed by groups such as the Mayas, the Aztecs, and the Incas. So talk about some major acculturation happening here as they brought over all of their plants, their animals, a new way of warfare, their religion, new education, a political system, and a whole entire language. This is video footage from when I was in the Dominican Republic 2 years ago. We were actually able to go and visit a place where Columbus had planted a cross that he received as a gift from Queen Isabella. Now a church has built around it, but they kept this monument. This cross was actually planted in 1490, and then the church was later built in 1860. So this is the actual church that we walked through. I don't think you're really able to have your cell phones, so that's why it's kind of shaky, because I was being sneaky. But here you're about to see the picture of the hole where the cross was actually planted. The cross was not actually there anymore and is thought to be privately owned.
A few Sundays ago, we were also able to attend one of their religious services. So Roman Catholicism is the prominent religion in Latin America, and one of my friends, George, he actually said that if you're not Roman Catholic there, then you're pretty much like a devil worshiper, whatever they say. But here locally in Baton Rouge, we couldn't find too many Roman Catholic Spanish services, but my church at over on Howling Road, Healing Place Church, has a Spanish service, and that's how we met all of our friends, but we went to that service and we got to experience their worship and their preaching, and I loved it. It was awesome. Initially, we have translators, so they gave us an earpiece, and the first guy, he couldn't really translate very well, so I found myself like confused most of the time. But the second guy who picked up was very good. So everything was pretty easily understandable, and like the worship was awesome.
Yeah, it was really upbeat, I thought.
Yeah, yeah. And when I went to the Dominican a couple summers ago, I got to go to one of their church services too. Again, it wasn't Roman Catholic, but they had super upbeat music. Everybody was dancing around, and like we did like skits, all this kind of stuff. It was so much fun. So overall, it was a really cool experience, and even though we stuck out like sore thumbs, I'd honestly say that I might even go back one day because I enjoyed it. It was awesome.
El Dia de los Reyes Magos, which means Epiphany, is similar to our Christmas Day. It is the celebration of the Three Kings. This is the day that they exchange their gifts. Also, the children leave their shoes out to get special treats in them. This celebration takes place on January 6th. On March 5th is Carnival. This occurs the weekend before Lent begins. They celebrate with parades, floats, and dancing on the streets. Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, is a day that many Americans think is Mexico's Independence Day. It is actually a celebration of the Mexican forces' victory over the French. This happened at the Battle of Puebla in 1862. November 1st and 2nd is when they celebrate Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. November 1st is to honor children and infants, but deceased adults are honored on November 2nd. La Noche Buena y la Navidad is known as our Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. They go to midnight mass on Christmas Eve and prepare traditional foods. Tamalada is when Mexicans get together to make tamal. This consists of shredded pork and cornmeal called masa, which is then placed into a corn shuck or a leaf.
For the grocery store tour, they took us to a local Hispanic market over off of Florida Boulevard known as La Morenita. There, we walked in and we saw an amazing selection of produce, desserts, the meat market, and they also had an in-store restaurant with ice cream as well. I thought the dessert was going to be my favorite part because I'm a huge sucker for sweets. But we went to this section and it's labeled pan dulce, which in English that is translated to mean sweet bread, which would be similar to our muffins and banana breads and all your favorite pastries. But we got a few of them and tried them and realized that they weren't very sweet. And in making some of them, we realized that the recipes only called for like a 1/3 cup of sugar, which is totally different compared to what we eat here in America. So that was kind of disappointing, but
we did try the ice cream, and although it was a different texture, more like a sorbet, it was super sweet. So I guess kind of the sugar varies for different desserts.
yeah. The vanilla was like a little bit, it didn't even taste like normal vanilla. So I'm gonna stick to the bluebell ice cream, but it was still good.
I was also disappointed by the sweet section. My favorite section was actually the produce. It was so colorful. They had so many different kinds of fruits and vegetables I've never seen before. A lot of them they had were actually from Mexico, like avocado, papaya, guavas, and one we had never heard of, which is called mamey. And then also they have one from Argentina, which is the coconut. And yeah, they had a bunch of other ones, and we like loved looking at them.
And also within the market, they had an in-store restaurant, and over there they had like a traditional taco bar. But we were really surprised to see like a whole fish, scales and bones and everything, kind of just fried. And they also had tamales, tacos, different type of fajita meats, and different types of rices and vegetables.
Yeah, I tried one of the tacos and I decided on the chicken taco because it's like the safest version. It was seasoned a little bit differently, but it was actually still pretty good.
And we also tried the plantains, and those were actually pretty good too.
Yeah, they were.
They're really sweet.
Very good. So after we went to the market, we went back to Madeleine's house to prepare all the food. A few of our friends were able to make it to that as well. So they came and they showed us how to prepare authentic Hispanic dishes. So we had my friend George, he is from Mexico. Our friend Kevin, he's from Honduras, and we also had Lucia join us, and she is from Venezuela. So we had dishes specifically from those countries that they have grown up eating, that their parents have prepared for them, and they taught us how to make them, and it was awesome. For dinner, we made arepas. atole, which is a drink. We made ceviche, plantains, and what else did we make? Oh, pan dulce. We had tres leches. Is that it?
I think so.
There was like 6 things. Anyways, the tres leches we found to be like a common favorite among all of the Latin American countries. It seems like all of my friends that I asked, and there's like 20 of them, they're all from like Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Peru, El Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, all of those countries, and they all seem to have the common denominator favorite dessert of tres leches. Tres leches is a cake that is soaked in 3 different kinds of milks, tres leches, evaporated milk, condensed milk, and regular milk. And they soak it for like 16 hours, I think he said. So it takes a long time to make. Luckily, we had one of my friends, Kevin, his grandmother, made it, and it was filled with strawberry filling. So they make them differently, but it was good. I liked it. The soggy cake consistency was a little bit weird. It wasn't as sweet as our traditional cake, but it was still good.
So we had atole, and it was a beverage, and it was made from masa and corn mixture with milk, and it was more of a porridge-like consistency, and they said they usually drink it around like the holiday times and the Day of the Dead, and usually Christmas, and it's kind of like their version of like this hot chocolate. But we all tried it, and we all enjoyed it, but it was very, very different.
It was like pudding.
Yeah, it was like really thick.
It's kind of this thick.
We also made arepas, which are really good. It's really prominent in Venezuela. They eat it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And it's most common that they eat it as a sandwich. So they cut it in half, and then they stuff things like avocado and cheese in it. We put avocado, cheese, chicken in it, and it was like amazing. It was my favorite thing. But like I have friends from Colombia, and they told me that they just eat it for breakfast all the time, just by itself. So it's really good, and I definitely recommend eating it.
Yeah, we found that a lot of the Latin American foods have a corn base, whereas we in America have a lot of things like are flour based. So we found that the arepas are very similar, or at least look similar to our English muffins. And so similarly to our English muffins, you can fill them with like meat, or you can do something like sweeter, like a jelly. So it's the same thing for them. Like the atole was corn based, the tamales are corn based, the arepas are corn based, their tortillas are corn based. Which is healthier, but we enjoyed it. We also made ceviche, and ceviche is a dish that is marinated in a citrus-based mixture with lemons and limes being the most commonly used. In addition to adding the flavor, the citric acid causes the proteins to denature, so it has the appearance of being cooked. So they pretty much always use fish, and so you have to take the fish and put it in the refrigerator in some lime juice for like 3 or 4 hours. To marinate and so that the proteins denature. And then we used diced onions, tomatoes, cilantro, the fish, and we even threw in some avocado and some garlic salt for a little bit of seasoning. But it's similar, like we made a Mexican type ceviche. So ceviches are all different among Latin America. Like Ecuador makes one that has a tomato-based mixture with like shrimp, and it looks very much so like our gumbo. Peru makes, and that's where it kind of originated, theirs kind of looks like a salad with fish on top, whereas Mexico's looks similar to like a pico de gallo, and they eat it with corn chips. So it's made differently all over Latin America, but it was very good.
We also had plantains, and what they did was just slice them up and pan fry them on both sides, and it was really good, and they were naturally sweet too.
Yeah, and we had them as plantanos con crema, which is plantains with cream, and we put this cream that was really similar to sour cream on it, and it tasted really good, and we even like added it to our sandwich too. It just kind of went well with everything.
Yeah, I've actually had them in the Dominican Republic, and they actually had a sweeter, like kind of more of a dessert type plantain, in which they pan fried them again, but they did it with cinnamon and sugar. So honestly, that was my favorite because I already said I like the sweet stuff.
Yeah, that would sound good.
So what you see here is just your average Latin American breakfast. Breakfast in Latin America is typically the lightest meal of the day, and it is served until about 10 a.m. It's very common for the breakfast to be a coffee and a pastry or some sort of bread, but eggs and fruit or some sort of fruit juice is also common. Like we said, this breakfast is normally the lightest meal, so this spread of food would most likely be for quite a few people. Here we have your typical lunch or dinner entrees in Latin America. Lunch, or what they call almuerzo, is served typically between 2 and 4 p.m., whereas dinner, otherwise known as cena, is served between 9 and 11 p.m. To the top left corner, you have your plantains, your pulled pork, rice, and beans. Below that, you have empanadas, and those are typically filled with beef or some kind of pork. Top right-hand corner, you have pescado, or what we call fish, and that is fried with scales, bones, and all, and it's served on a bed of rice, beans, and also maybe some veggies on the side. Right below that, you have your arepas, which you are going to eat today, and they are filled with berries, guacamole, pork, or even cheese, eggs, a variety of things.
We found 5 major health concerns for the population within Latin America. Number 1 is access to health services. About 30% of the population of Latin America do not have access to healthcare for economic reasons, while 21% of Latin Americans do not seek healthcare because of geographical barriers. And for the last 30 years, the World Health Organization has urged countries within Latin America toward universal health coverage. Under universal health coverage, every citizen would have access to high-quality services that he or she would require. Number 2, epidemiologic transition in chronic non-communicable diseases. The region has experienced health issues seen in many developing countries, which puts high levels of infectious and acute diseases, placing pressure on weak public health systems. Latin American countries have advanced economically, and along with increased globalization, the lifestyles of people have shifted. Because life expectancy is higher, there has been an increase in disease resulting from chronic and non-communicable diseases such as hypertension, cancer, diabetes, and obesity. Number 3, training and distribution of human resources in health. Few countries in this region meet international indicators such as number of doctors or nurses per 10,000 inhabitants. People in this region are often concentrated in capital cities or in a few geographical areas, which results in leaving groups outside of these areas neglected. And the bottom line is the problem is poor distribution of resources and lack of resources. Number 4, inequalities in health. Latin America is characterized by a high level of inequity and inequality. Many sections of the population are at higher risk because health problems are often influenced by societal factors such as education, sociocultural level, income, and ethnicity. And lastly, number 5, financing health systems. Changes in patterns of disease and the rising aging population increases the cost of health care. Current healthcare systems finance their services based on illness, which means resources have to increase as more people become ill. This current mechanism becomes unstable because it encourages a system based on disease and not focused on health. Through our research, we were able to determine some counseling strategies that may be useful when counseling Latin Americans. As health professionals, it is important to be able to navigate the differences in communication style, and our ultimate goal is to develop and maintain trust with our patients. Through our research, we noted that Latin Americans are polychronistic, and their concerns lie more with the group than with the individual, so it might be more beneficial to focus on including their family in counseling sessions, and it might be more beneficial to have group counseling sessions rather than individual counseling sessions. In Latin America, there's less physical distance between people when having a conversation. They have softer handshakes and more touching is involved, and they have greater use of their arm and hand gestures. And they're more expressive with their emotions. Their communication style is high context, and they have something called mañana culture, where it is rude to arrive on time, and 30 minutes late is a general rule for dinner, and 1 to 2 hours late is a general rule for social events.